Revealed, 7 spine-chilling rainy night tales of terrifying solitude and hidden horrors. The rain came down like a hammer, relentless and unforgiving, transforming the quaint town of Willow Creek into a grayscale nightmare. Every droplet sang a sorrowful symphony that echoed through the trees, shaking the very heart of the community. The sound was haunting, a reminder of the legends that whispered through the town's folk tales of lost spirits and cursed woods that even grown-ups dared not speak of. The air pulsed with electricity as thunder roared, painting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. Josh, Emma, Tyler, and Sarah huddled inside the cozy tavern, laughter ringing amidst the clinking glasses and crackling fireplace. They were childhood friends, bound by memories and now weighed down by life's demands. But the night was particularly different. The storm seemed to creep into their thoughts, drawing out sorrows they tried to hide. A soft murmur among the townsfolk hinted at an old cabin, deep in the woods, cursed, haunted, a place where eerie happenings were as certain as the storm outside. They had heard the tales as children, each recounting the ghosts of Willow Creek who glided through the trees, seeking vengeance for wrongs long forgotten. The deeper they ventured into their stories, the more palpable the fear grew. Emma sighed, staring into her glass. "Remember that old cabin? The one where the kids went missing?" There was an unsettling silence, and they all exchanged glances, hearts racing as old nightmares resurfaced. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the wind howled and the bar creaked ominously, a thrill pulsed through their veins. What if they dared to visit the cabin tonight? The tension rose, it felt almost daring. Josh shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. "We're adults. What's a ghost story but a way to have some fun?" They weighed their fears against curiosity, and adventure won. Drenched and determined, they stepped into the storm, the wind slapping against their faces, the dark trees inviting yet threatening. Each flash of lightning revealed their expressions. Nervous excitement mingled with dread. The woods swallowed them whole, the familiar path twisting and curling under the heavy rain like a bad omen. Shadows whispered, and they could almost hear the haunting echoes of their own childhood fears. When they finally stumbled upon the decrepit cabin, its silhouette glared against the sky, dark and brooding. An electric hush fell as they ventured inside, the door creaking against the storm as if announcing their arrival. Dust swirled around them, and the air thickened, suffocating and eager. Ancient photographs adorned the walls, showing faces long gone but alive in whispers, beckoning them deeper into secrets left buried. As they explored, the air around them felt alive, the shadows swirling like restless spirits. Suddenly, they were overwhelmed by sensations. Flickering images danced before their eyes, embodying betrayals and sins etched in the town's history, raw and hungry for acknowledgement. Just as they reached into their memories to fight back, a chilling whisper filled the room, "You cannot escape what you have inherited." And in that moment, the cabin shuddered, a gust of wind slamming the door shut, plunging them into darkness as fear wrapped around them like a vice. Realization dawned, this was merely the beginning, and they were far from safe. The darkness pressed in on them like a heavy fog. Emma's heart raced, her breath quickening as panic swept over the group. What was that? She gasped, scanning the inky blackness where the familiar contours of the cabin had vanished. "Just a branch," Tyler whispered, doubt creeping into his voice. But none of them were convinced. The air was electric with something unnameable, a primal fear that clawed at their sanity. Josh felt sweat trickle down his back, a trickle that felt like ice. "Let us find the flashlight," he suggested, trying to sound brave as the darkness seemed to whirl around them, hungry and alive. They fumbled through their backpacks, fingers trembling as they dug into the depths of their fears. "Here!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice quavering as she flicked on the flashlight. The beam sliced through the darkness, revealing splintered floorboards and peeling wallpaper, but it also illuminated something else. A sudden movement, swift, darting. "Did you see that?" Emma shouted, pointing toward the corner of the room. The beam caught a glimpse of something pale before it vanished into the shadows. "See what?" Josh said, forcing a chuckle that echoed hollowly in the damp air. "It's probably just a mouse. A ghost mouse." But laughter was a fragile shield, and they all felt it crack under the strain of dread. Their surroundings, once familiar, now dripped with malevolence. The old photographs on the wall seemed to leer at them, eyes boring into their souls as if reproaching them for trespassing. Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated from the far side of the cabin, a sound so powerful that it rattled the wooden beams above. They jumped in unison, all eyes darting to the origin of the noise. "Go check it out," Tyler said, his voice barely above a whisper. "No way. You go." Emma shot back, her bravado slipping away. Before they could argue, the whisper returned, icy and mocking, "You have unlocked the doors, you must pay the price." Crimson fear washed over Josh. "That's not funny," he shouted, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. He felt the weight of the words, heavy with consequence. They needed to leave. Now. But the door, they realized, hadn't just shut, it had become a barrier of darkness. "What's happening?" Sarah gasped, trembling. Every instinct screamed to run, but the oppressive atmosphere paralyzed them. "Try the window," Tyler urged, sprinting across the room. He tugged at the window, but it wouldn't budge. "It's stuck." The dread in his voice sent a chill through them all. Panic set in as they huddled together, a tight knot of fear and uncertainty. Then came the sound of soft, barely audible footsteps, echoing behind them. Not one of them moved to look, afraid of what they might see. With each passing second, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, swirling in a cacophony that drowned out their reason. "You cannot escape. You are forever bound." The flashlight flickered ominously, casting erratic shadows that danced in the corners of their minds. Then, just as it threatened to extinguish completely, the beam illuminated a figure, a translucent child, no older than 10, hair hanging in tangled strands, face smudged with dirt and despair. "Help!" the child pleaded, a voice so small and yet filled with a depth of sorrow that pierced through their hearts. Suddenly, the cabin trembled again, an earth-shattering quake that knocked them off their feet. They scrambled to regain their footing, realization cutting through the fear like a jagged knife. What they unleashed was unfurling around them, wrapping tighter, drawing on their worst fears. The child stepped closer, its whisper now a scream in their minds, "You must face the truth before it's too late." And in that moment, the lights went out, plunging them into utter blackness, with only the child's voice echoing, "Choose." What would they choose? Their fate hung suspended, unresolved, as the shadows closed in, and the storm raged on outside. Would they stay and confront the horrors of their past, or run into an even darker unknown? The answer lay just beyond their reach, as the grip of the unknown tightened. The darkness was suffocating and alive, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the fear clawing at her mind. "What do we do?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Josh's grip on the flashlight tightened, his knuckles white. "We need to stick together," he said, glancing around the room as if the walls were closing in. "There must be a way out." The child's cry echoed in their minds, a haunting reminder that they were not alone. Each heartbeat pounded like a drum in the silence, blending with the relentless sounds of dripping water from the ceiling. Time felt warped, seconds turned into hours as they waited, holding their breath. Suddenly, the whispers began again, rising from the very floorboards beneath them. "Face the truth, face your sins, you cannot hide." They were a chorus of despair, pulling at the threads of reality, warping their thoughts. "Stop. Just stop," Tyler shouted, his fear morphing into anger. "We didn't ask for this. We want to leave." The air shifted. A gust of cold wind swept through the cabin as if the house itself responded to his defiance. The shadows flickered ominously, twisting and blending into grotesque shapes that swirled just out of reach. You cannot go until the truth is seen. Every suggestion of escape felt further away. Sarah's breath hitched as she turned to the group, her voice low but trembling with urgency. Maybe we need to confront whatever this is. Maybe it's our only chance. Emma stared at her, eyes wide. Confront it? What does that even mean? The panic in her voice was raw, but beneath it lay a glimmer of solidarity. There was no denying they were entwined in something sinister, something that demanded attention. Listen, Josh said, the flashlight flickering again. He pointed towards the child lingering at the edge of their vision, its small figure barely illuminated. What do you mean by truth? The child tilted its head, eyes glistening with a haunting sadness. Your past, it binds you here. Every choice, every secret. It stepped forward, and the shadows retreated slightly, revealing more of its frail form. You must face it. Only then will you be free. Tyler's heart raced. It can't be about us. We didn't do anything wrong. His voice wavered, his conviction crumbling under the weight of the moment. Right? The child's gaze pierced into Tyler, and for a moment, the whispers around them faded to a dull echo. You know the truth, it insisted, the sadness in its voice deepening. A tremor ran through the cabin, a sinister growl rumbling from the depths of the earth. Wood creaked and splintered, as if the house itself was alive and angry. What do we have to face? Sarah cried out, desperation now lacing her words. Just tell us. The child's face twisted in grief. Your memories, they await you. Suddenly, the darkness surged, swallowing the beam from the flashlight completely. Panic surged through them like a lightning strike. No! Emma shouted, reaching out, feeling for anyone, everyone. The air crackled with tension as they all instinctively moved closer together. Hold on! Josh yelled, his voice hoarse with fear. But the shadows pressed against them, dark tendrils that seemed to pull them apart. Then came the sensation of falling, as if the very ground had given way beneath them. The cold air around them chilled their bones, and the whispers transformed into wails of terror. You cannot escape, your truth will consume you. As they fell deeper into an abyss of darkness, they could feel the suffocating weight of their past pressing down on them. Each breath became a struggle, and they could hear muted echoes of laughter, cries, and regrets intertwining into a chaotic symphony. And then, just as suddenly, silence. An eerie stillness enveloped them, leaving only the pounding of their hearts in the darkness. Are we dead? Emma whispered, and the uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Before anyone could respond, a faint glow flickered on the horizon of the darkness, a flickering light that beckoned. Its warmth filled the void like a distant sun, promising refuge or something more dangerous. I think it's a way out, Josh said, uncertainty mingling with hope. But is it safe? Was this their salvation? Or something more sinister hiding in the light? As they stood on the precipice of choice, their fate loomed, waiting to be decided. What awaited them in that glow? The choice loomed heavy, and one thing was clear, the truth wouldn't stay buried for long. The light pulsated like a heartbeat, drawing them in despite their instincts screaming to run. Emma squinted, the glow promising warmth against the chill that clung to her skin. It shimmered with an unearthly quality, flickering like the last gasp of a dying ember. What if it's just a trap? She murmured, pulling back slightly, her voice laced with doubt. Josh pushed forward, his courage faltering but not extinguished. We have to try. We might not get another chance. He moved closer to the glow, filling the air between them with a sense of dread and determination. They shared a glance, a silent agreement wrapped in fear and desperation. Wait! Sarah called out as the whispers returned, weaving through the silence like a snake slithering through tall grass. What if we confront our past here? Right now? Tyler, clutching his arms, felt the weight of her words. The past had haunted him for too long. You mean relive it? Is that what the child meant? A rush of anxiety twisted in his stomach. The child's words echoed in his mind, your memories, they await you. What memories? Nothing felt more terrifying than revisiting the moments he'd buried. The laughter, the screams, each one seared into his mind, waiting to resurrect himself like a ghost. I don't think we have a choice, Sarah insisted, stepping closer to the glow. This could be it, the only way to break free. Attraction and repulsion battled within each of them. Shadows danced along the edges of vision, as if mocking their choices. I can't go back, Tyler whispered, trembling. Not now. The flickering light exploded into a brilliant luminescence, momentarily blinding them. And just as suddenly, it dimmed, revealing a scene that sent a shudder through their bones. Slowly, blurred figures emerged from the shadows, memories morphing into flesh and blood. Welcome home, a distorted voice echoed, and they recognized the faces with a jolt of horror. They were younger, brighter, unaware of the darkness lying ahead. Friends, family, and moments they had tried to forget now surged forward like an angry ocean wave. See? It's just a memory, Emma noted weakly, but the knot of fear tightened in her throat. We can handle this. But Tyler's heart raced as he saw his younger self a time before the accident. No, not this. Panic seized him, his breaths coming in sharp gasps. I was supposed to forget. You can never escape it, the apparition of his younger self said, voice sweet but chilling. You were a coward then, and you are a coward now. A sickening jolt shot through Tyler, words cutting deeper than any physical blow. Shut up. He shouted, but the memories continued to swirl and shift, creeping further into existence. Josh turned towards the others, the lights shifting, filling the small space with promises and threats. We need to fight back. He urged, desperation threading through his voice. Fight? How do we even do that? Sarah replied, feeling the pressure of her regrets bubble to the surface. She could smell the salt of tears that were never shed, hear the cries of friends she let down. We can't just wish it all away. No. We can face it. Josh shouted, rallying what strength he had left. We expose the truth, and the darkness will fade. A surge of courage coursed through them as Tyler grasped Emma's hand, squeezing tightly. If we face our past together, maybe we can break its hold. The memories roared, images blurring as they clung to their insecurities and mistakes. With each heartbeat, they stood on the precipice, unified against the rising tide of their regrets. We can do this. Sarah exclaimed, her voice rising above the chaos. We can confront what's haunting us. Just then, the shadows thickened around them, threatening to drown out their resolve. The truth will consume you. The voices shrieked as the very fabric of reality twisted, the light flickered, dimming to a mere glimmer. But as they prepared to step into their past, a sudden realization washed over Tyler. Each of them had a secret waiting to be revealed. A betrayal, an unspoken guilt, lurking beneath the surface like a coiled snake. That moment, doubt flooded their hearts. What if the truth they faced would tear them apart rather than set them free? As they steadied themselves and the shimmering glow beckoned them closer, the darkness loomed heavy around, threatening to swallow them whole. What awaited them in that glow might unlock their past, but at what cost? Was their unity enough to withstand the truth, or would it shatter everything they held dear? A singular thought pierced through the tumult. They had to decide now before the night consumed them all. Would they break free, or would their darkest secrets rise to claim them first? The pulsing glow surged brighter, illuminating their faces, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with a life of their own. The air, thick with anticipation, felt electric, charged with unspoken fears and desperate hope. As they huddled closer, every heartbeat echoed with the weight of their choices. Together, remember? Emma whispered, her voice barely cutting through the rising tension. But whether they would remain together or slip into the abyss of their past remained uncertain. The chilling whispers began to circle like vultures, feeding on their doubts. Let us do this. Josh shouted, heart racing, muscles tense. He took a step forward, but the glow flickered once again, sending a shudder through the group. Time felt suspended. Unseen eyes watched, and whispering shadows seemed to tighten their grip around them. Tyler felt as if a vice were closing around his chest. What if they don't forgive me? He clutched his arms tighter, trying to steady the tremors beneath the surface. Just then, an icy wind swept through the clearing, swirling leaves and dust, knocking them off balance. We can't let it take us, Sarah urged, pushing past the fear clamping down on her throat. With one rapid, collective breath, they stepped into the light, blindingly bright, as if breaching the surface of water after being submerged too long. Instantly, they were no longer in the clearing. They stood in a scene from their past, a crowded school hallway buzzing with laughter and chatter, colors vivid and warm like a perfect autumn day. But something felt off wrong. Look! Emma pointed, her voice trembling. Just ahead, a young girl stood at a locker, anxiety etched in her features. It was Sarah at 13, clutching a stack of books as her eyes darted, searching for recognition in the faceless crowd moving around her. Is it just me, or does it feel so real? Sarah breathed, nostalgia woven with dread, but with each heartbeat, the brightness around them shifted. She's trying to fit in, Tyler mumbled, his throat dry. And she feels so alone. Something gnawed at him, a connection too familiar, too painful. Suddenly, the jovial murmurs warped, twisting into cruel taunts. You'll never belong. The echoes disturbed the air around them as if the past itself rejected her. Tyler's eyes widened. We have to help her. He shouted, taking a step forward instinctively. But with each step, shadows clawed at his feet, pulling him back. The memories weren't just visions, they were a trap, an inescapable spiral of regret and fear. No! Josh cried. We can't lose ourselves. Remember what we talked about. Face it. Face what? Tyler replied, panic surging through him like wildfire. I can't just watch her suffer. Then don't, Sarah countered, voice like iron. We need to show ourselves that we can change this. But deep down, Tyler was torn. What if exposing the truth meant unraveling the very fabric of their lives? He could feel the weight of something, an unconfessed sin, a betrayal marinating in the dark corners of his mind. Would knowing only bring them despair? Above them, the skies darkened ominously, the pulsating glow flickering ominously. It wants you to forget, the distorted voice of his younger self echoed in the shadows. Will you succumb to the cowardice again? As the echoes of their past screamed around them, the boundaries of reality twisted ever more. Tyler fought against the pressing weight on his chest. It was suffocating. Do you dare confront what you've hidden? The voice hissed, chilling them all to the marrow. The shadows grew darker and the whispers sharper. As they teetered on the edge of choice, every eye gazed into the intensifying glow, each heart racing with the desire to be free yet chained by fear. What would they decide? Stand against their torment or let it envelop them again? With their choices hanging in the balance, the dim glow sputtered, threatening to snuff out, revealing the real question lingering in the air: would they face the truth, the whole truth together? Or would it tear them apart forever? They had only moments remaining to make their decision. An invisible weight pressed on their nerves, and they could feel the darkness churning, eager to claim what they failed to protect. With the darkness howling, their fate precariously hung by a thread. Would they find salvation in unity, or would secrets tear them apart when they needed each other most? The shadows lunged, hungry to engulf them as they hovered on the brink of revelation. Each heartbeat resonated with an urgency that threatened to shatter the very fabric of their self-control. Tyler's feet felt rooted to the ground, the whispers clawing, suffocating him in waves of despair. You know what happened, a voice taunted from the darkness, slithering just beyond his grasp. Tyler, Sarah said, her tone stark and sharp, cutting through the dread that cocooned him. We can't let this take us. We're here for her. We have to break free. The desperation in her eyes mirrored the storm raging within him, but every instinct screamed to retreat. How could he confront a truth he had blocked out for so long? The younger Sarah continued to fidget at the locker, blissfully ignorant of the chaos swirling just behind her shoulder. "Look at her," Emma breathed, pointing urgently. "Can't you see? This is your chance." "Every step we take could shatter everything," Tyler shouted back, the panic swelling in his chest like a flood. "What if we expose something that can't be put back together?" "No. This isn't about us. It's about her." Josh's voice cut through Tyler's doubt like a knife. He stepped ahead, defying the shadows that clawed at them, just as he had done back then. As he inched closer to younger Sarah, the haunting echoes of laughter morphed again, turning sinister. "They'll never accept you. Just give up." The specters of the past wrapped tighter around the group, vividly recalling their own insecurities and failures. "Josh, wait!" Emma cried, but it was too late. With a defiant scream, Josh reached out to the younger Sarah, his hand trembling as it broke through the veil of memories. "You're not alone," he shouted, eyes blazing with fierce determination. Time seemed to freeze. The moment Josh's fingers grazed her shoulder, a loud crack filled the air. The glow around them sputtered violently, shifting into a maelstrom of light and darkness. A gust of wind exploded through the hallway, scattering paper and chaos like an unforgiving storm. Younger Sarah flinched, her eyes widening, as if she could see the ghosts of her past manifesting in front of her. The hallway constricted, closing in, the walls warped and shadows thrashed violently. "Help me!" she shrieked, panic spilling from her innocent lips. "Fight it!" Sarah yelled, courage filling her voice. "You have the power." "Can she?" Tyler muttered, his voice barely audible as the shadows quivered, clawing at their collective resolve. The weight of guilt pressed down like a lead blanket, crushing him. What truth would they unearth if they dug deeper? Josh's grip remained steady on the younger Sarah. "You belong. You have the strength to push them away," he shouted against the rising cacophony. The taunts swirled back, but this time they were met with an unexpected force. Josh's light radiated, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. "Do we even know who these shadows are?" Tyler questioned, his heart pounding. Were they manifestations, or were they reflections of their deepest fears? Or, Emma interjected, staring with fierce eyes, are they just a reflection of what we've chosen to forget? That we are stronger now? In that crucial moment, the pulse of fear metamorphosed into something else, unity. They converged around Josh and the younger Sarah, hands reaching out, voices raised higher. "We've got this!" They all cried together, igniting a fierce light in the gathered darkness. Will this really work? Tyler wondered with a flutter of hope, the dance of shadows beginning to retreat, but doubt loomed in the back of his mind. What if they were merely masking their fears, feeding the darkness with false bravado? As the shadows receded, they could feel the weight of truths yet to surface. The light flickered, fragile but alive, hovering just above them, yearning to reveal itself fully. Yet, just before the light could fully dispel the darkness, it flickered once more, consuming their fears before it could expose the reality of who they really were. The pulse intensified, and a cold chill rushed through the air. "Are we ready for this?" Tyler whispered, knowing the answer lay in the light they had ignited but terrified of what they might discover. In the heart of uncertainty, as the swirling darkness beckoned to reclaim them, they faced the haunting question, would they possess the strength to unveil the past, or would the very act of confronting it shatter them again? And at that thin precipice between salvation and despair, danger lingered, eager to unveil its reckoning. The light pulsed, a beacon fighting off the suffocating darkness that threatened to drown them all once more. Tyler felt his heartbeat race, each thud echoing through the oppressive atmosphere. Could they really shatter the shadows for good? Josh's outstretched hand was a lifeline, yet the fear clawed at him from all sides, whispering doubts. Younger Sarah's eyes darted around, vibrant with confusion, reflecting both terror and a flicker of recognition. "Who are you?" she stammered, glancing from Josh to Tyler and lastly to Sarah and Emma. We're your friends," Josh declared, his voice ringing with determination, drowning out the haunting tones that crested like waves. "We've come to help you fight." With each word, the shadows recoiled, swirling like smoke around them. Sarah stepped forward, wrapping her arms around the younger version of herself. "You've been brave, even when you felt alone," she whispered, her voice trembling yet steady. But the laughter returned, sharper and more distorted. "Brave? She's weak." The shadows slithered, taunting once more. "You think they'll save you? No one can change the past." An icy dread gripped Tyler's throat as the echoes of hidden truths threatened to crush them. "What are they? Why won't they just disappear?" he shouted, trying to drown out the display of haunting memories that twisted around them. "I can't be weak," younger Sarah cried, her voice breaking in distress. "I can't go back there again, no," Josh shouted, releasing her as if she burned him. "You're not going back. Fight with us. You have the power to push them away." The air crackled with tension as younger Sarah stiffened, denial swirling in her eyes. Through the chaotic torment, a flicker of resilience sparked within her, ignited by the fervor of her friends. "What do I do?" she murmured, desperation twisting her features. "Believe in yourself," Emma shouted, edging closer, encased in urgency. "Remember the strength you've shown before." Through the chaos, Tyler caught flashes of their shared memories, laughter across the table, late-night talks, moments of vulnerability. They weren't just remnants of the past, they were threads, connecting the once frayed fabric of their friendship. The idea that it was possible brought a sharp relief to his burdens. "Please remember who you are," he echoed, voice rising with newfound fervor. "You're not defined by their shadows. You are unbreakable." Younger Sarah's expression shifted, confusion gradually giving way to determination. The shadows seemed to hesitate, circling in a tighter pattern, sensing her growing light. "I am strong," she breathed slowly, her voice firm. "I on my own. I don't need to run anymore." That powerful declaration ignited an electrifying energy. The shadows pulled back as a brilliant light erupted around her, expanding outward like a shining shield, consuming darkness in its wake. Tyler felt it wrapping around them, a cocoon of warmth, dispelling the cold claws of the past, yet, just as hope surged within him, the ground beneath trembled violently, splitting open with a muffled roar. A rift materialized, smooth and dark, and from it surged whispers again, louder this time. "You think you can escape? Your fears will always be inside you. Stay strong." Josh yelled, but it was too late. The very fabric of their reality splintered. The luminous aura surrounding younger Sarah flickered dangerously, wavering in the face of this new threat. It clawed upward, pulling Tyler and the rest of them toward the dark expanse, the promise of freedom slipping away. For a moment, panic reignited, churning dread deep in his gut as he realized they might be losing their grasp on victory. "Yes, push it away," Sarah urged, holding tighter to herself, her breath quickening. "You are not alone in this." But even as they shouted encouragement, Tyler felt his heart sink. How could they remain united against what embodied their deepest fears? And if the darkness was just the start, what horrid truth awaited them in the depths? With a final desperate push, they reached for the light, but the shadows twisted, ensnaring them once more. The chilling question loomed heavy: what if overcoming their fears sparked worse horrors waiting just beyond the surface? Everything rippled in a chaotic dance, and with that, they raced to confront their unveiled past, not knowing whether freedom awaited or something more terrifying lingered within the abyss. A deafening silence enveloped them as they plunged into the rift, their bodies suspended in dark nothingness. The pulsating light that had once surrounded them now flickered far away, like a distant star fading into the void. Tyler felt a cold, clammy fear gripping his chest, squeezing tighter with each passing second. The relentless whispers churned in the darkness, taunting and mocking, pulling them deeper into their shared terror. "Stay together!" Josh shouted, his voice a desperate thread in the overwhelming gloom. But even he sounded uncertain, his resolve waning. Tyler and the others floated, weightless, as memories began to materialize around them, swirling like lost fragments of time. He saw moments filled with laughter, but they quickly morphed into reflections from a darker past. Each memory carried the chill of betrayal and regret, mixing nostalgia with anger. Snippets of laughter twisted into cries for help, friends turned into faceless enemies, their eyes cold, judging. "You think you can escape what you've done?" a voice hissed. It echoed from the shadows, slicing through Tyler's mind like icy daggers. "You're nothing but your regrets." "No!" Tyler screamed, gripping Sarah's arm, the warmth of her body anchoring him amidst the chaos around them. "We didn't come this far just to be swallowed by your lies." The distortions of the past began to close in, threatening to drown them, feeding off their fear like a parasite. Tyler glanced at younger Sarah, whose face was a mix of terror and dawning strength. She was fighting her own shadows, fragments of hurt creeping into her eyes. "Listen to me," Tyler urged, desperation clawing at his throat. "You are not weak. You've shown strength before. Remember, we're right here." A flicker of recognition crossed her features. The shadows recoiled slightly, sensing her fire. Maybe it was enough. Together, they could fight. "Everyone!" Tyler called, his voice echoing in the dark. "We need to believe. Grab onto the light. We cannot let them take us." Yet as they tried to coalesce their strength, the void around them twisted. The laughter returned, grating and sharp, ricocheting off the walls of the abyss. "Face it. You're just pieces broken beyond repair." The shadows snarled, clawing at their resolve, pulling them further into despair, and then, from the depths of the darkness, a figure emerged, a manifestation of swirling smoke and shattered whispers. Its eyes glowed with a hunger that sent chills racing down Tyler's spine. "I am the truth you fear. The final echoes of your pain will consume you if you let them." "No," younger Sarah whispered, shaking her head violently. "I won." The shadows surged, seeking to engulf them in a spiral of torment, but Sarah stood her ground, her fists clenched. "I choose to fight." She looked around at her friends, her voice gaining strength. "We all choose to fight." In that moment, their hands clasped tightly together, a lifeline forged in unity. The brilliant light flickered to life again, ignited by their combined will. A surge of warmth shot through Tyler as the shadows recoiled, howling in protest. "Now!" Josh urged, his voice booming. "Now we push back." As the light expanded, a sudden rush of force swept through them, breaking the chains of the past. The darkness kicked and writhed, desperate to hold on. Tyler squeezed his eyes shut, focusing on the bond they had formed, the memories of laughter and love propelling him forward, but just as they felt the tide begin to turn, the figure lunged, a tendril of darkness reaching for them, sharper than any blade. Tyler's chest constricted, and he was filled with a burning fear. What if this isn't enough? Then came a voice, soft yet fierce, echoing in the depths of his heart. "You are never enough because you are more than you fear." With that whisper pulsing through him, Tyler opened his eyes, fueled by resolve. Would they be able to fight back the shadows, or would they succumb to this final test? The rift crackled, the boundary between light and darkness nearly dissolving, but in that crucial moment, a renewed wave of fear washed over them. Would their pasts be as unbreakable as they had always feared? As the darkness tightened its grip, they surged forward one last time, launching into battle. Would this be the defining moment to shatter their fears, or the beginning of an irrevocable descent into despair? The truth awaited them, lurking just beyond the edge. They recoiled as the dark figure lunged, the icy tendril slicing through the light they had fought so hard to summon. Pain seared through Tyler's chest, a white-hot flash that left him gasping. "Hold on!" he shouted, but his voice trembled, wavering under the weight of the encroaching darkness. The tendril lashed out again, wrapping around Sarah, pulling her toward the void's center. Her cries echoed, a haunting melody entwined with desperation. Tyler lunged forward, pushing against the darkness with every ounce of strength he had. "No!" Josh bellowed, trying to break free from the shadows that sought to ensnare him. "We won't lose her." Tyler reached out, fingertips brushing against Sarah's outstretched hand. The warmth of her skin ignited something deep within him: fury, determination. "Fight it, Sarah. You're not alone." She nodded, her eyes fierce despite the terror swirling around them. "I refuse to be consumed." Drawing strength from the bonds of friendship, they forged a shield of light that momentarily held the shadows at bay. A flickering flame united them, feeding off their defiant spirits. The monster danced just out of reach, its red eyes burning with rage. It whispered poisonous lies: "You are destined for despair. Embrace your darkness." But every word only fueled their determination. Each flicker of light ignited a flicker of memory. Laughter echoed, hopes merged, and love intertwined, crafting a tapestry of resilience. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Tyler's mind. What if we face it? Not just the pain of our past but every fear we've buried? Together. Sarah shouted, galvanizing the group. They could turn their deepest regrets into a shield: each remembered laugh, each painful betrayal. They pulled each memory closer to them, pushing back against the shadows. Tyler recalled that time they sneaked onto the roof of Sarah's apartment, giggling under the stars, feeling invincible. Josh thought of the close games they played, the losses that had only made them stronger. They remembered every face that had disappointed them, every time they had stumbled but risen again. The dark figure staggered back as the combined memories pressed forward, light seeping through cracks in its form. But then the shadows lunged again, slashing deeper, targeting their doubts. Can you truly overcome? Remember the times you stood alone. Tyler felt his chest tighten. The knot of fear turned hard in his throat. He thought of the friends he had lost touch with, the paths he regretted not taking. For a split second, doubt wormed its way into his heart. Perhaps the darkness was right. Maybe they weren't enough. No. Tyler bellowed. Each scar is proof that I have fought. That we have fought. His words rang like a battle cry, uniting them. The energy shifted, amplifying as they latched onto each other's strength. They shouted their invocations of hope and fear in unison, forming an unbreakable wall of light that roared back against the encroaching darkness. Light burst forth, illuminating the void, sending the figure reeling. Around them, the memories spun faster, twisting into radiant bursts that deflected the tendrils of shadow clawing at their souls. But just when it seemed they could overwhelm the darkness, the atmosphere shifted again. The shadows thickened, shifting realities around them. You think this is victory? It screeched, laughter echoing like thunder. You have yet to see the final truth. The ground shifted beneath them, and Tyler felt his stomach drop. They were being pulled apart again, their joining crumbling like sand under pressure. The memories began to fade, replaced by a darkness deeper than the night. No! Sarah yelled, but a shadow swept over her voice. Tyler's heart raced as he struggled to maintain his grip on the light, a new fear permeating the air. Was the end of hope near? Why couldn't they hold on? The darkness twisted, beckoning them into a deeper pit of despair. What were the final truths they hadn't confronted yet? As the shadows crept closer, weaving around them like a predator preparing to pounce, Tyler braced for the unseen. Horrors that awaited another surge of pressure pulsated through the void. Would they unveil their darkest secrets, or would they find themselves consumed in the relentless abyss? The answer loomed above them, teasing just out of reach as the battle for their souls intensified. The darkness shrieked, its tendrils closing in, seeking to reclaim what it had lost. But then, like an ember igniting, a shared resolve surged between Tyler, Sarah, Josh, and Emma. They breathed in unison, their hearts pounding a fierce rhythm together. "We are more than our past," Tyler shouted, a fire sparking in his chest. With newfound determination, they linked their hands tighter, feeling the warmth of their connection. "No more running," Sarah cried, pushing against the suffocating shadows that clawed at their resolve. "We will face you together." A brilliant light burst forth from their clasped hands, illuminating the void with a powerful aura that pushed back the lurking darkness. "I see you," Emma called, fear still coiled around her but mixed with courage. "You're just echoes of our pain. You have no hold over us anymore." The light pulsed in rhythm with each word, rippling outward like a wave. Stray memories erupted around them, filled with laughter, tears, and every moment they cherished together, their strength surging with each recollection. The monstrous figure roared, its form contorting in agony. "You cannot escape me. Your truth will destroy you." It screeched, but the group stood firm, their confidence unwavering. They met the shadows with their memories, each memory a cog in the machinery of unity, every shared laughter transformed into a concise weapon against despair. Then, with a deafening smash, the shadows caved in on themselves, devoured by the intensity of the light. Tyler felt it then, the weight of years of betrayal, regret, and sorrow lifting as they clashed against the darkness. Each flicker of hope emerged from their hearts, compelling them forward. "Together!" Josh yelled, echoing the sentiment deep within each of them, and the shadows buckled, shrieking violently. The howl of their fears faded to whispers as light flooded the abyss, illuminating truths once concealed by fear. But even as victory seemed near, Tyler felt the last remnants of doubt skitter through the darkness. "What if we can't forgive ourselves?" he murmured, the thought loomed heavy in his mind. But Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, grounding him. "We can't let guilt consume us. We did what we could. We're not the people we were then." As their unity pulsed brighter, the darkness erupted in a final attempt to reclaim its hold. "You think this light will save you?" "Yes," they roared back, collectively pushing against the void. The convergence of their wills sealed the breakthrough, blasting the shadows apart with an illuminating shockwave. The darkness exploded with a final, haunting wail, crumbling into nothingness, leaving nothing but raw silence. In the aftermath, breathing heavily, the group found themselves kneeling together, a patch of bright grass beneath them. The cabin had vanished, dissipated like mist in the dawn. Laughter echoed in the distance, bright and carefree. The sun peeked through the scattered clouds, casting warm rays onto the vibrantly green scenery. We did it," Emma whispered, disbelief etched on her features as they stood together, warmth enveloping them. A heavy burden had lifted, their bond stronger than the darkness that once threatened. But as they savored the moment, Tyler felt the weight of something else, a flicker of sorrow for what they had faced. "What now?" he asked softly, the echoes of their past still lingering like a distant melody. Josh nodded, he understood. "We rebuild. We mourn what hurt us, but we don't let it dictate who we are. We face our stories," Sarah added with conviction. "Together, we can create something beautiful out of the ashes." The air felt lighter, and with shared determination bright in their eyes, they turned their backs on the shadows that threatened to claim them again. Behind them, the remnants of their anguish faded into the sunlight as they stepped forward into a new beginning. With hearts unchained, they forged ahead into the streets of Willow Creek, ready to embrace their future. "Together," Tyler declared, voice ringing with hope. And as laughter drifted from familiar corners, they stepped into the warmth of friendship anew. But before the screen faded to black, a voice cut through the sultry calm, an echo still seeking your truths remain alive, waiting. And with that, the screen flickered. You need to subscribe now to catch the next chilling adventure that will haunt your dreams. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm's hunger for more tales of terror and triumph. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-bending conclusion. What did you think? And for the faithful fans who dare to spread the word, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this gripping finale. Don't wait even one more second to share.